Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to share my May TBR. I have not been creating to be read lists at all this year. Indeed, they aren't something that work for me regularly or as a rule because I am a bit of a mood reader and oftentimes I can feel like I've written something down but now I want to read this thing over here as opposed to this thing that I've written down. However, my reading has stagnated this year. I have not read as much as I would have liked. I have not been reading things that I do like. I've not been navigating towards things, and I've been looking at my shelves again feeling like, where do I go to next? Because so much has been a disappointment. I think in February I had been reading well and then I had about 4 DNFs in a row, which meant I only read one book in February and I wish that I had DNF'd that one. So it's not been a good reading year, it's not been a good start to the year, and we are nearly half of the way through the year and I feel like I haven't read anything superb that I would recommend to everybody. I mean, of course, I read the Kate Atkinson earlier in the year, I read the Jess Kidd, but I mean something that's stuck in my mind and feels like this is the book for the year. This is our reading's going well, and I haven't found that yet. And I'm hoping that by creating a TBR, I am going to compel myself to read 10 books. I want to read 10 books this month. That used to be the average number of books I would read in a month. I don't think I'm going to go over that, but I would like to try and get 10 books read. And I think if I put that out into the universe, maybe it will make me hold myself accountable. I will say that I included 2 books on this list that I have now already read. And one of those was Madam, Will You Talk by Mary Stewart, which is seen as a romantic suspense novel from the 1950s. At one point it turned into a bit of a Mills and Boon book, but basically this woman goes on holiday to Paris, and while she's there she finds that some people seem to be on the run from a murderer, but all is not as it seems, as she soon finds out when she decides that she's going to embroil herself in a romantic entanglement with this man. Obviously, romantic suspense. I recommended it to my mother because she loves Mills and Boon and I feel like this was a cornerstone to those books. Then I have Lolly Willowes by Sylvia Townsend Warner. Laura Willowes is under the thumb of her family. She is seen as the spinster aunt, and after the death of her father is made to move from the home in which she has always lived to go and live with one of her older brothers, and she just becomes part of the household there. 20 years in, she decides that she is going to uproot and move to the countryside, and whilst there, might become a little bit involved in the dark arts. Then I have books that I have already started and I'm looking to finish this month. One of those is The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. I began reading this over Easter thinking that I could read a 970-page book in 3 days. It wasn't possible, but I did get to page 511, and so I got 470 pages left, which feels weird to say considering how much I've already read. I do enjoy these books. I'm liking seeing the expansion of this world, and one of the reasons I went to this book is because I have enjoyed everything that I've read before from this author. It just became too much of a mammoth task to do in one go, and I needed to get some other books in there whilst I read it. After I read Lolly Willowes yesterday, I wanted to read a book from I wanted to read another one of my 1950s women, and so I chose A Spring of Love by Celia Dale. I have now read Sheep's Clothing and The Helping Hand by this author. Really enjoyed the first one, didn't enjoy the second that I read, but so far I am enjoying this. This came out in 1960, and so far we have got the character of Esther, who every Thursday is her night. That's the night that she goes out, she takes herself for a spot of dinner, she goes to the cinema and sees whatever's on, and she has now met a man. But this is apparently going to become maybe a little bit more toxic and oppressive than has happened so far. I read 30 pages of this last night before putting it down to watch Derry Girls, but I am very much looking forward to seeing where we go from here. On the back, it says the Sunday Times said that it had an unfailing empathy for the drab, the lonely, and the quotidian, and I like that. As I said recently, I like to see the ordinary and how the ordinary is expressed in fiction. I used to hate it, but I enjoying it. And I'm enjoying seeing this woman's life, and I look forward to seeing where it's going to go. And I did start a little Trickery by Rosanna Pike yesterday too, which also I only read 30 pages of A Spring of Love. I'm exactly 60 pages into this, and unfortunately I wasn't enjoying this as much as I thought that I would do. It follows the character of Tib, and she is a vagabond, a vagrant during Tudor times. And I envisaged this story being something different than what it is. Not on the blurb, on the bio of the author, it says that she is a graduate of the Curtis Brown Creative and the Faber Academy. And unfortunately, I feel like you can tell that in the prose. There are so many books published that have got the Faber Academy and Curtis Brown Creative there, and they're creating books that all seem to be written in the same style. And I'm not saying that it's like this bad thing. They're definitely writing books that appeal to people, but they don't appeal to me. And unfortunately, I am not liking this book as much as I thought I would. But I might continue it because I did pay £1 to get that book out of the library, and it was one of my most anticipated from the Women's Prize long list. Then we will go on to the other library books I've got, and I said that I must have something within me that when I was ordering books that appealed to me from the Women's Prize long list, I managed to get all of the ones from the shortlist, and it took so long for them to appear at the library that the shortlist had been announced. But I have got the Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden, and I know a lot of people have read this and been talking about it for ages. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize last year, and folk are and have enjoyed it. I know nothing about it, but it's 15 years after the Second World War in a rural Dutch province with two people who are the antithesis of each other. But on the back, it is filled with authors whose books I've enjoyed, so hopefully I will align with their opinions and enjoy this book too. And then we have A Good Girl by Aria Aber, and this is Berlin's artistic underground. And who does Nyla want to be? I don't know, maybe I'll find out. I'm clearly getting too old and spinsterly, because when I saw that someone had said a no bullshit must-read debut and I saw the word bullshit on there, it made me clutch my pearls, but still, I will see how I get on with it. And then we have a book that I got for my birthday last year, which is The Borrowed Hills by Scott Preston. We are lambing at the moment, and this is set during the foot and mouth period in northern England, which, I lived through foot and mouth. My father got told that his quote, when Granada Reports basically came to speak to my father during the foot and mouth disease in 2000 or 2001. All of his sheep have been culled. They're currently burning on the pyre in the middle of his field. And the presenter from Granada Reports asked him how he felt, and he responded, "How do you think I feel?" It didn't make it on television because he was a bit too sad and aggressive. But I am interested to see how this is, how it goes. Seeing a lot of books about the farming community over the last year, and I'm always interested to know whether the people were part of it. I mean, I can't say I'm part of it. I just have a farming family, but we'll see. Then we have a bit of non-fiction with Girt, The Unauthorized History of Australia by David Hunt. Why would I want to read this book? Is it just because there is a seagull on a man's head here? Maybe. But it's also because the blurb made me laugh. I had the line, not to read, it would be un-Australian in the blurb. Everything I've opened this to so far has made me laugh. It even has an epigraph from Homer Simpson in it. And I just want to laugh. I want to laugh and I want to learn, and I feel like Girt's going to do that for me. Then we have How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin, which was one of my most anticipated reads of last year. I've been avoiding a lot of this sort of crime fiction recently, which seems to be trying to emulate a specific part of history in the crime genre, but I've been told that this is different and interesting and might remind me of some of my favourite crime novels, and so I'm willing to give it a try. I'll give it a whirl. Then we have The Comforters by Muriel Spark, because, well, it's the only Muriel Spark I currently have on my shelves unread, and I want to read some more of her. This is her first novel, and there's a chance that it might have a bit of a meta-narrative behind it. I'm not too sure, but one of our characters, Caroline, is plagued by the tapping of typewriter keys and the strange detached narration of her every thought and action when she realises that she is in fact in a novel. And I think that's going to be humorous too, and I want to see how it's going to unfold. I then included The Book Lovers by Steve Aylett, because This author contacted me and offered me this book for free in exchange for a review last year, and I thought it sounded just the absurd sort of thing that I wanted to read. But basically, Inspector Nightjar is entered into a steampunk underworld of brain love, greed and revolution, and it sounds utterly bonkers, and I am here for that. I found out that I had a box set of The Immortal World of P.G. Woodhouse. This is an author whose works I have been meaning to read for decades now. I am talking from when I was about 10 years old. Of course, I don't think I would have appreciated this when I was that age, but I was a big fan of watching ITV3 with my grandmother, and they showed Jeeves and Wooster with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, and we used to watch that every weekend, and I meant to read something by this author ever since. I've had friends who've gone and read it before me now, but I thought I might try and read Carry On Jeeves, or whichever is the first one in here. These books haven't been read, they're just a bit musty, and so I'm particularly fond of these covers. Gosh, that was a lot of dust to come off that book. How did you get so dusty? It's certainly not my room. Anyway, I like these covers. I'm hoping that I'll enjoy the books as much as I used to enjoy the TV show, and I might even listen to some of them because I do already own them as audiobooks. But yes, weirdly, as I was talking about those books, I ended up feeling more excited to be reading this month, and I'm hoping that that is going to stick. I have tried to get used to this new routine at work. I think I'm there. It's been a few months now. I ought to be. And I'm trying to figure out my new reading routine. I have tried the reading of 25 minutes, writing for 25 minutes, reworking my working days when I'm not at work. I'm talking about when I'm writing, because I am also working on a novel. The Charity Shop book is coming quite quickly. I've got into a rhythm with it, and reading broke up that, but also I have fallen into a nasty habit of scrolling through social media, and I've got to try and wean myself off that. I have problems. I think we can all relate to being the person who just mindlessly scrolls as opposed to actually doing something constructive with our time. Hopefully I read this month. If you believe I ought to prioritise any of these books over any others within the list, then do let me know where I should go first, because, you know, it's like a kid in the candy store sort of moment where I am just looking at them all thinking, wow, where do I go next? Well, obviously, I'm currently working my way through A Spring of Love, but where do I go after that? Do I work through the ones I'm currently reading, or do we try something entirely different? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I also have 3 holds at the library that might come in this month, which are inspired by Ben Reed's Good and Katie of Books and Things, and they are The List of Suspicious Things and Mother Naked. And then, whilst I was looking to see if they had any more books by Sylvia Townsend Warner, I found out another non-fiction book, which is Rural Affairs, which discusses the rural lives of Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Townsend Warner, and another author or contemporary of theirs whose name I can't remember right now. But if they come in, I might prioritise them. I don't know. That's just who I am. Hopefully I manage to get the 10 books read that I want to read this month. Wish me luck. And thank you for sticking around. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.